Hello everyone, this is NG36B talking about Action Plan 9, developing an automated systems to both classify data and assist users to classify data. The idea being to maximize people and automate the systems in the process. This one is near and dear to my heart because we've run into classification issues in my line of work all the time. Classic examples are overclassifying data, not putting releasability markings on it. So I constantly get things that say no foreign and not releasable to foreigners that really are releasable to foreigners, releasable to a lot of our coalition partners. I get data that is classified secret that is really unclassified. And to go to Rodin's comment in the comments about AIS data, that's a common one. A lot of the AIS data is not classified secret. You can get it on marinetraffic.com. You can get it on freaking apps on your smartphone. Like, there's no reason to mark it secret. So, and I think the biggest concern that people have and why they overclassify things is they don't want to be wrong. And they are worried about spillage. And they are worried about misclassifying stuff and getting in trouble for it. And I can understand that. If you get your butt chewed and your access pulled to your network because you didn't classify something correctly, then the next time around you're going to be super cautious. And that sadly will then result in that data not necessarily being shared and makes a headache for the foreign disclosure officers. So, a couple thoughts on that. First, we already have a system in place to assist users in classifying emails. So if you send emails on a CIPR system or if you send emails on a JWIC system, for the most part, you have a thing in place that actually does a pretty decent job of at least doing the overall classification on an email. The issue becomes, one, it's not installed necessarily on everyone's computer, although it's pretty widespread now with the NMCI system and such. I don't think you can really avoid it. Second is that it doesn't portion mark, and that's actually a bigger issue than what a lot of people think. Oftentimes, when you are attempting to put intelligence products together, you just need a couple pieces from here and there, and if you don't portion mark something, you could have an email that is overall marked secret no foreign when there's really only one no foreign piece in it and everything else is rel to some other countries. And so you need to be able to get that portion marking out. But if the overall classification is marked no foreign, then it requires a foreign disclosure officer to go and review it. And that's a huge pain in the butt because not everybody has an FTO. I happen to have one on the staff here. Most smaller staffs do not have an FTO, and thus they would have to send it up to their higher headquarters FTO, who probably already has 1,000 things to do, and you're just going to add one more to his plate, meaning that that's not going to happen in a timely fashion. So we need the system to especially help with portion marking because I think that's actually where we have a lot of areas, a lot of efficiencies to be gained. The second thing that really holds us back is we don't have sufficient classification guides. So some agencies, like the NSA, do a really good job about publishing classification guides for the different sorts of information that they work with and what you are allowed to put them at. Most agencies don't, and we need to change that. I recommend that if every command have a classification guide of some kind. I think that actually should be a requirement if you are going to work with classified material. The guide does not necessarily have to be like very extensive. And in fact, I would be okay if the guide referenced a higher headquarters guide and just said CREF-A, if that was all you ever used. I think the goal behind that is it forces everybody to think. First of all, if you have something that says CREF-A, that implies that you know what REF-A is and you have a copy of it on hand, meaning that you'll actually have a classification guide so you won't improperly classify things. Second, if REF-A is not sufficient, you can add to it, and that actually gets people into the idea of we need to build a guide and distribute that to our sailors as to how to classify data correctly. A lot of times, and in fact, the majority of the time, the reason that people don't classify stuff correctly or that they overclassify it is they don't know what the right classification is because they don't have the guide. They don't have an instruction out there that says this is what you're supposed to do, and they're not going to guess. So if we make commands actually do that, it's a very simple instruction, but more importantly, it gets our higher headquarters involved in having to publish very good comprehensive classification guides to minimize the amount of work on our lower headquarters that have to, actively classify stuff. Um, also, I really like the idea from Rodent about making a searchable engine to compare the data that you're posting to something that's already unclassified. And I think that the way that you can do this is going back to a previous action plan about metadata tagging. If the data is tagged correctly, and as you're typing in and you're putting tags and whatnot, there can be a search feature, or perhaps you just hit a button to say, hey, compare to databases, and it would actually, the program would automatically compare it to other things and go, you portion mark this as secret, but we actually found it in an unclassified source here. Would you like to change the portion marking? And I think that has a lot of power behind it because it will allow you to, I would say if it should review it for things like rel, things like no foreign and secret and unclass, because there's a lot of stuff that we probably mark as secret that really is unclassified. And it's not due to people trying to hide things, it's due to people just not knowing. So those are my ideas for this action plan. Please let me know what you think in the comments.